Hello everybody and welcome back to Space Engineers, where today we're going to be looking more into the suspension things that I recently made a video, I'm guessing you saw because that video blew up, that went a lot of custom suspensions, and one of the main things you guys wanted to know was how I actually built them. So in today's video, I'm going to do a quote-unquote tutorial-ish of how I actually built them. So we have all the different stages. I'll try and explain it the best I can. I don't usually make tutorials like this, so if any bits are confusing, I'm sorry. I'll try my best. My brain doesn't work in any normal way, like any normal human. So hopefully what I've laid out there and what I build in this video makes sense. And because you enjoyed the custom suspension so much, I thought I might as well experiment a little bit further, so I made something else. So you might enjoy that. Just something interesting. And the final thing is, I did get a couple of comments saying they were asking how I make the wheels with rotors, like rotor heads instead of the actual wheel blocks. So I'm going to show you two techniques. Both are modded, but once you've done it, you don't need any mods to use it in a world. It's basically just using mods to actually do it. So yeah. And final thing before we start today's video, a couple of you guys were asking, hey, how do I do these things on console? Because I can't do all the modded stuff. And the problem from what I can tell with console is, one, all of these blueprints are completely modless. Two, you need scripts. So the only way which I get these wheels to work is because I have a subgrid wheel control script. So the only way to be able to get, because you're technically powering these which are on subgrids, yeah, these wouldn't work if you just didn't have that script running. So sorry guys, hopefully at some point I do port it over. I did explain that in the last video, but I did it quite late, so sorry about that. But yeah, anyway, without further ado, let's get on with the video. Okay, so I have these two main builds I want to show off. This one is my simple, like I would class it as a quote-unquote rock crawler. So basically just ones where the arms can pivot, like tilt up and down, but it has no other type of movement. And then we have the final one I showed in the last video, which was all of the long reach suspension and all of the other malarkey. So we're going to start off with the module of how you make this front little section. So let's move over here and let's start. So to begin with, you want to place some wheels. So place a couple of blocks just around here. There we go. So you place a couple of blocks, place two 5x5 wheels I recommend on those. And then what I do is I put two rotors facing opposite directions, just like that, so they're sticking out on both sides. From there, I then attach these together to make one solid sort of like beam, I guess, split into two. I can show you how I do that. So, what I would recommend you do, from what I remember, is just 10, isn't it? Yeah. So, I'm using Build Vision here to make it easier so that I'm not messing around in terminals. Some people were asking what that was. So what I tend to do is move the rotor head in until it's 10mm on both sides. Out all the way, and then into 10. And then from there, what you want to do is you want to place a block like that. You want to place a block like that. Another block on there. Okay, we're going to put some power on this grid. Now we're going to rotate this bag around. You can plan as much as you like, but nothing will ever go perfectly right. And then from here, what I just like to do is have just so you have minimum amount of friction, like connecting to them. Not really necessary, but I like just doing this. So do that, and then I place it on here, and as you can see, these two are not connected. So you can simply just put one like that, and give it the love tap. Bonk. And now you have one solid beam. And that's what that is right there. Just delete that. So now you have this simple connected beam across. The next thing you want to do, moving along to here, I'll build this one as well, just to show you how you do this bit. So what you want to do from here is you want to actually place the wheels into these places here. So how I recommend you do this is you basically just block that like that, and you want the wheel to be here, and then you know that the actual wheel suspension part is 2 blocks, so you want 1, 2, and then you want to place a block behind it on both sides, just like that. Okay, so now what you want to do is you want to get the 1x1 wheel suspensions. So the wheel suspensions, which are just the 1x1 wheels, and then you just place it on like that, making sure that the yellow part is at the bottom, just like that. And then from there, it's a literal case of you can lower them fully, just like that. That, and then you can toggle off. Oops. 2 rotors, and you're completely free. But this isn't my favorite design, in all honesty. This works, and it's good, but I tried to see if I could make it more compact. So what I have basically done is I made this design right here, which, as you can sort of see from a 2, so if you look at this from sideways on, you've got your blocks which go overhead, and then you have the 2 pieces there, and you can sort of see that where the wheel suspension height, you're already at the bottom. Where this one, it looks like you're at the top. Now this one's a little bit more complicated to make, so I'll show you how you make this one. So what you can do is you can delete these wheels. Oh yeah, really put some power back on. Pop, 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 pop. Like that. You don't need any of this part. You don't need any of that part. Like that. Now I like to do, so instead of actually doing that, well, what's I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna make it white just so you can see what blocks I'm placing. So I get the armor panels. So I put them all the way across there. Obviously, it's not connected to this back one yet. So what you want to do, again, is just get your merge blocks. Actually, I'm going to attach it to this one first, just so I know it did that. Give it a love tap. Connects. Delete them. And now you've got one solid piece again. Hooray! Now from here, what you want to do is you want to go back to... Place one like that. Place one like that. And now... This is the bit up more complicated bit, which isn't actually that complicated. What you want to do is you want to angle it just like that. So one of your, basically so you can sort of see that it's tilted. Now you use the 1x1 wheels again, making sure that the yellow bit's at the bottom, and you place it. Now you can see that one's been placed. So now you want to go back to this same rotor, and you want to rotate it the other way. Just like that, same sort of angle, and place the actual right one. There we go. Cool. Make sure you don't try and place a 3x3, otherwise it won't actually place the wheel. Now what you can do is you can just toggle up the rotor, and you can sort of see immediately it straightens up. Now you may be thinking, oh, that's already maxed out, you know it's not going to work. It does have a little bit more play in it, so it's pretty good. And this is how you make a really compact design. Now from there, that's basically how I just built this car right here. That just uses 2 of these modules, one at the front, one at the back, and it allows you to have very large suspension travels on either side. So, in all honesty, a design like that, really, really compact. Sure, it adds a little bit more cost, but you can pretty much, you know, build right over the top of all of this. The only place you can't build is over these wheel bits. But if you really wanted to and you wanted to hide them and you didn't really want to add too much more height, you can do something like that. Like, you can sort of see. It's well within the wheel sort of height, really. It's pretty good. Yeah. Delete that. And delete that. So that is how you build the first design. Now the second design, or the upgraded higher reach suspension, just more stuff going on, is a more complicated design. And so we're going to try and explain that now. Okay. So that's where we ended on this one. So this is where we're going to start. Exact same thing, just flipped around, right? So how was the best way to explain it? Right. So we built from here, right? And the only bits we actually added is we built one of these, one of these, one of these, rotating. Oh, there we go. One of them, and we place another block. That literally, that's all we did right there, and we just covered it in a couple more panels. Now, it's at this point where you really want to decide whether we're going to stick with just this design, or what I tend to like to do a little bit more, but not much reason, it doesn't do much, is I like to widen out a little bit with 3x3. So it's a case of literally just, instead of having your one center block connected to the two wheels, you have your same thing, but it's on some like a block, another block on either side, so we've got a 3-block center almost, and then the wheels are on now. Doesn't really do much for the design, it just obviously widens out your whole vehicle a little bit, which can make it a bit more stable. But yeah, the options are there. So the next stage, once you've decided which one you're going to use, I'm going to use a 3x3 for this, but like I said, you can use that. Doesn't make any difference. You want to place a rotor, or hinge, just on that bottom block. So just right here, on that single block. And you want to angle it so it's pointing up just a little bit. Now from there, you want to place some kind of block. I like to use angle blocks, doesn't really matter. Angle block, and then you want to place a couple of blocks just here. Oh my god. My P key didn't work. Right? So you place your blocks going along here. So you make sure that you place your center block and you place 3 on either side. And then what you want to do is you want to place 3 blocks up and then a 4th block. So 3 blocks up and a 4th block. And what I like to do is, as you can see here, I'm using a I actually have no idea what these pieces are actually called. An armored slope 2x1x1 base. I like to use them, and I like to use the half block slabs. Just do that. The main reason for that is just when it's actually flat. Well, not really flat. When it's, you know, it can tilt slightly more. And it just means there's going to be no collisions, and it's a little bit safer. You really only, you don't really need it, but I like to do it just for a little bit of safety. And then from there, what you want to do is you want to lift the actual entire hinge upwards. So just make sure it's pointed all the way up. And you want to place 2 1x1 wheels on those 2 slab pieces that we, well, not slabs, 45-degree slopes that we placed on either side of that. I hope this is making sense, guys. Like I said at the start, I'm not the best at doing this, so I more just spend like hours building stuff and just showing off my final result. But yeah, so I hope you are enjoying this video. As always, if you are, maybe hit the like button. And maybe subscribe if you're not subscribed. I know a lot of you are, but we've had a lot of new people coming to the channel recently, so yeah, please subscribe. Helps me out a lot. Anyway, so you place these 2 blocks on the angle piece, and then you literally just have to set your maximum sort of boundaries for your actual hinge. So what you can technically do now, and I've finished it on that one, but I'll demonstrate on here. So what you want to do is you want to lower lower it down, and I'll just show you this. So imagine this is where your actual vehicle hull, right, is, and then this is your separate mechanism, but it's this easy to have one as a stable design. So I want to get back to the hinge. So this would be your vehicle fully sort of maxed out, and then what you'd have is your fully compressed state, which is right about there, right? So what you want to do is you obviously want to set up your maximum upper and lower limits for your actual hinge. So what I like to do is just push it down a little bit, so about 28. So what we're going to do is, I think it's this one, we're going to set it to 28. And what we're going to, I have done this wrong, haven't I? Yeah. We're going to set the bottom one to 28. And then what we're going to do is we're going to lower down this to about 5, maybe? Let's have a look. We compress it all the way. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, it's not really ever going to be this much compressed, so it doesn't really matter. And then what you can do is just turn it off. And now, you have your actual main beam. So, I just strung up here. Just like that. And, if I was to place one of these, place another one, another one on the other side, just like that. And just like that, you can see it sits quite nicely. So obviously you have your two suspension types now. You have your beam tilting, so with these ones, and then you have your other ones, which are these ones, for your sort of main height. So obviously what you really want to do, and I'm not doing it now because there's not much point, is you probably want to name all of these just so you know they're all different things. If you have your, if you looked in the main seat or something, the white ones would be the height ones. So if I increase the strength, you can see the whole vehicle is going to lift up. And that is basically as complex as this one gets. It's nice and simple and not too bad. Obviously, like I said, now what you'd, if I wanted to, I could strap a seat onto that, strap a programmable block. You know what, let's use one of the, that's an event controller. Yeah. That's a timer block. Complete, oh, there you go. Oh, that's cool. I've never actually placed this block. The automation's programmable block. Anyway, so we get that. You want to have a wheel. That is not how you spell wheel. That is how you spell wheel. And for some reason, my blueprints never load. I have to click load, and it pops up. So, subgrid wheel control script, and just click OK. Should work if, you know, I actually have some power. There we go. Oh, so obviously, if you look now, all the wheels are turning. You don't really want that. So what I'm going to do is just select all of your 1x1 wheels. No steering, no propulsion, no brakes. No parking brake. I'll allow air shocks because that can help with a little bit. And there's your design. Whee! You can sort of see, you've got all your movement. Yeah. You got all your movement in all the different directions, and all you got to do now is tweak all the different bits. Obviously, make it work a little bit better than it does currently. Yeah, if I were to do that, you can see it's got the suspension. Works nicely. And yeah, not too complicated. I hope I explained it nicely. If you have any comments, obviously, put them down below, and I can answer them. But that leads us on to the bit I said right at the start. My little teaser showing off this cool suspension thing. Now you may be thinking, well, what is this? You see, this is a suspension a vertical type suspension, which allows me to, if I selected all of these, right, and I went height offset and I did that, look how compact I've managed to put it all in the actual main suspension part. Look how much travel these wheels can have. Like, you can sort of see the wheel there and just in the background. That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. I need to make some vehicle with this. Yeah. So I've got two different builds for this particular one, and this is where I start using the rotor heads in the wheel suspensions. So we have the vanilla option, which is this one, and it basically is. Let's put a thing here, and if I just stretch it out, what you've got is you've got a suspension with a rotor head on it into a 90-degree hinge, into another 90-degree hinge, into another suspension, and then I've got these panels connected to the base block and then just added to here. Same on the other side, on the opposite bit. And the main reason for that is just so it gives me a nice place to, build off on either side of the two ends of the suspension. And then I do have a modded option, which you can sort of see. This is your main suspension part, and you just have these bulky bits. So I made a compactor version, which uses some modded suspension, some compact suspensions. It's a mod. I believe it is literally called 2x2 wheels compact suspension or something. It's fairly new. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below, so if you are on Steam, feel free to check it out. And yeah, it's the exact same thing. That same thing, but instead it just uses compact bits and it looks a bit nicer. But in this case, I have just used the vanilla. Yeah. There is one problem why I can't just, build a vehicle like that and just, strap these on instead. One thing I'm struggling at the moment is making a sway bar. So at the moment, technically, when you look at these wheels, this connection point here is technically a bearing, you could say. So what it means is the whole thing can sway. It can also sway on this side, because obviously you've got two pivot points, really. The whole thing can just sway, and the whole thing can just completely tilt up like 45 degrees upwards on both sides. So it's a bit of a problem. I might be able to show it. You can see these bars are already starting to bend. So what you got to do is have some kind of linkage, which still allows it to have a full travel, but it keeps these locked in. And I haven't quite come up with a good solution yet for that, so we're ignoring it now. And then, yeah, so I was going to talk about how I actually make these wheel suspensions for those people who don't know, or the rotor head suspensions for those who don't know. And there's two main methods that I have found to be able to do it. The first one is your build vision method. So you get your off-road wheel or your wheel suspension or whatever block, one of those, and then you get a piston and you shove a rotor on the end of it. And it's as simple as you extend it and penetrate it into your actual wheel suspension, push it in to about there. You hold onto this, and for some reason, although you can't see it in the actual main terminal of the vehicle, you can see it in here. You can attach. If you click attach, you can see this has immediately broken. So what you want to do is you want to click off that, and then right there, delete that block as well, because that is the piston head. And then you've got your wheel, or you've got your rotor. You can place a block on there. And a fun fact for those who don't know, because obviously if you haven't seen something like this before, you may find this maybe strange. I don't really know. if I was to place some blocks just like this, just like that, you see they're fully solid, right? All of this is fully solid. But if I wanted to, I can just, you know, offset and push the block straight into the other block, and it doesn't care. You can't build it when it's like that, but interesting thing about these blocks is they don't have a like collision mesh when they're a subgrid to one of these wheels, so you really can just they just merge through each other as if they don't exist. Very useful for making piston engines which have spinning bits. That's what I've found. And then the other method is using another mod, which I believe is called Rotor Wheels, because they were really sort of thinking hard about it. And it's quite simple. You place down your wheel of choice, you make sure the wheel hasn't actually got a wheel on it. You go to the wheel of your selecting, you go into the custom data, and you type in, well, you can type in anything here. There we go. So you do that, it doesn't fall off because for some reason I don't think it likes a block there, don't know why. And the difference between these two is you can see here, the actual hinge right there, hinge head, is sort of in the block, so it's offset by half. Where this one is actually outside. Yeah, I believe it still has the exact same weird thing which can happen. I've never actually tried it, but I believe it still works. Yeah. The magical block through a block. But yeah, so instead of it being like there, it's out by a little bit, which, yeah, it's not bad. But yeah, that's how I make these. So I think that's going to end it for today's video. It's quite long already, and I hope I've explained everything clearly enough. I'm never good at doing these, like I said. So hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, as always, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new. That's me a lot, and shows that you want to see more of these types of videos in the future. As always, my name has been Quantum Chief, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!